Cisco 49 is deep in the heart. Like Joe Montana in the corner, D. Clark. Garrison Hurst, stiff farm going 99. Don't get it twisted, one and all with prime time. John Taylor, Jerry Rice.
It's the 49er Faithful UK show. Week 13, the big NFC matchup. Niners at Eagles. And it ended up pretty much the same way as when a truck hits a pigeon, as the Niners battered the Eagles on both sides of the ball in a statement 42-19 win. There were feathers everywhere. And I think it is fair to say that most of us enjoyed that one rather a lot. I'm Gareth Ellis, and I am joined by Paul Hope.
Feeling pretty good. Like to get that in there early, Gareth.
Nice one. Lee Gowland.
Cry, Eagles, cry.
Najee Kawhi and his jacket.
Yeah, it's right there. Hello, everyone.
Yeah, I think we all enjoyed that one. A couple of you lads were together. Mini meet, I think.
Yeah.
There was a little cluster of mini meets. Good to see that there is no curse.
No, we knew that.
We knew that.
We smashed that at the Buccaneers game, Gareth. But
True.
in the
Yeah,
Discord
we
group,
certainly did.
Najee, standard
They
to
tried.
slip in, because I tried to say, what curse? And a few people bit back, Gareth, saying, no, it doesn't count because it wasn't the official watch party. And I was like, whenever two fans get together, as you said on the show last time, Gareth, it's classed as a meet-up. And we put those rumours to bed last night, which I'm sure we're going to get into.
We are. Have you got your 3 talking points for the game? Have you managed to whittle that game down into only 3 talking points?
So I've done a slightly different. I've got 3 words and it's one
Of
talking
course
point.
it does.
Go on,
Go
then.
on,
Go
then.
first.
Yeah. MVP, most valuable player.
Ah,
That's a discussion worthy of having,
yeah.
because nobody else is having it, apparently.
No, he's actually, that's not true. We can get on to it when we done the coupon, but Las Vegas knows. If you know what I mean.
I know what you mean.
What have you got for us, Najee?
Well, I was going to, you kind of stole my thunder. I had Brock Purdy MVP, CMC MVP. And my third talking point was, I don't think Jim Lenore likes Taylor Swift or another Swift. I don't know.
So he's not a Swiftie, that's what you said.
He's not a
He's not a
Swiftie.
Swiftie.
Well, possibly. Yeah.
I mean,
Maybe
he
there was
looked
a
quite
little
Swift
bit of
last
something
night.
there.
You look quite Swift.
What have you got for us, Paul?
My first talking point is keeping calm, because a lot of people seem to be losing their cool in the first quarter. And Mr. Gowland can attest, I was calmness personified. I actually wasn't worried, and we'll get into why. The second talking point was Brock, hence why I'm rocking the backwards cap for those people who were listening and not watching. Few people have said he's not worthy of the MVP league because he wears his cap backwards and he can't be a franchise QB. But after that performance, and then I could have ended it, Gareth, with saying, a bit disappointed. I called for Debo to have a multi-score touchdown game for the first time since 2021, but he didn't score 2 touchdowns. He gave me 3 instead. So we've got to talk about that man, that's Debo Samuel. So there's my 3 talking points for you, buddy. And I'm not just talking his touchdowns.
Excellent. Bit of a spread there already. I've gone with a bit of a Debo topic as well, with Debo doing his best Rocky impression by running straight through Philadelphia. Wilkes and Shani give coaching lessons to Little Nick. And I thought someone else would mention this, but I think we're probably going to come up with Dre possibly needs a little bit of an anger management, but I don't feel too bad about anything he did. And maybe that's perhaps a bit more on me. Okay, let's start with Brock. Let's start with this the MVP Brock and Brock Purdy conversation. Who wants to take it away?
Yeah, I'll go and take it away because that's my only point, really.
Good.
Because I kind of cheated by saying MVP.
You did no homework.
I did no homework. But I'm still getting a gold star for it.
Take it
So,
away.
I mean, anybody that doesn't see Brock Purdy in the MVP conversation now is blind or biased, completely biased, because the numbers he's putting up, the game tape he's putting on show for everybody, the guy is just class. He is coolness personified. That you talk about clutching, having to come back late in the game, but it's just as difficult to actually a guy that's only in his real first full season to come up against a team like the Eagles, who have been touted to absolutely batter us again for a second time in a 12-month period, and also go back to the scene where he had a devastating elbow injury, which could have finished his career. It could have been that bad. It could have finished his career. So it must have been a nervous start for him.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that's why we had that slow start, but it must have been a little bit nerve-wracking for him going back to that scene to do that. And then he put on a masterclass later on in the game, and he just controlled it. He never seemed to be phased. Nothing got at him. I don't think he was ever worried, really. And he was just cool as personified. And like I said, last night, 148.8 passer rating.
Yep.
That was unbelievable. He's brilliant. He is, honestly. Yeah. It's Brocky too. It was Brocky too. So it went to script. Yeah. Brocky won. But it wasn't, he didn't take it down to the wire. He just knocked the stuffing out of them in the second round.
Yeah.
And then the rest was just basically beating up on him. It's like that meme where the poking the dead thing on the floor. Do something. Do something. That's what the Eagles look like. And I've never been so pleased than to see a stadium empty like that. Because those fans really suck. They do.
Yeah, they do.
They are horrible fans, and they deserved that mauling last night for everything they did to 49er fans back in January. So I think Brock played a huge part in their misery last night. And I'm so pleased because of what they've been saying about him all week, saying he's trash, he's only putting up these figures because of the people around him. Well, how about the people around him are putting up better figures than normal only because of Brock? Because Brock's feeding him the ball at the right time. Because his anticipation, wow, that's wonderful. We've been waiting so long to have a quarterback that can do that. And it is scary because at times, I mean, we sat there thinking, why is it? And then he throws it and it just lands in the person's hands. I mean, the Seahawks game, when he hit Ayuk, and Ayuk hadn't even broke. There was no separation. He hadn't even broke, but he knew where he was going to be. He had that trust. And I remember reading The Score Takes Care of Itself, Bill Walsh's leadership book. It's a leadership book, but he uses the football analogies to basically explain how leadership works and stuff like that. And he was talking to Joe Montana. And I think it was in Joe's first or second season, full season. It was his second full season, so it was the Super Bowl season. And Joe was a little bit unsure about some of the players. And Bill just said, look, trust us. You don't need to see him break. I will guarantee you this receiver is going to be in Mark X on the field at this time. You just get the ball to that particular place in the field. That receiver will be there. Trust us. And that's what it reminds me of, the way Brock is playing. Shanahan must have said, this is the way the route's going to be run. That receiver is going to be in this position at this time. Just throw the ball. He will get that ball. And it's just taking us back to the 80s, and I'm so excited. And again, I'm not comparing him to Joe Montana.
No, he's better.
I'm just basically saying what I'm seeing, the similarities there, and how excited it's getting me. And everybody's saying it now, and you know what? I love Richard Sherman. Richard Sherman has stuck up for the 49ers all season long. Yeah. And he's called out all the different analysts who have been putting us down, not giving us our credit, and basically calling them out saying, you're not watching the game. If that's what you think, you're not watching the game. Yeah. And it's generally about Brock. So we're coming back to Brock. It's always about Brock. And it's all these analysts who are saying the same thing as some fans are saying. Well, he's got a great team around him. That's why he's doing so well. I can name numerous quarterbacks that have got great teams on them. And they're not doing as well as Brock.
Great quarterback. He's had a great team around them, or a great O-line. Look at Hurts. Everyone's talking about him as an MVP. He's got the number one ranked O-line in front of him. And Purdy's got one which is middle of the pack at best.
Yeah, and I think we'll talk about the Eagles O-line later. Yeah, we'll talk about the Eagles O-line later, because I do want to give out plaudits where plaudits are due, even for the opposition. But that's my bit on Brocky.
Can anybody add anything, or has Lee just covered it all?
Well, I talked for about 25 minutes. So
it did.
I think
9 and a half.
You cannot not agree. And as I said in the point, Vegas knows he's at the moment he's the top. If you want to bet on who's going to get MVP, you're going to get less return if you bet on Brock at the moment. And December is where MVPs are made. You can play very well all season. If you don't tie it all together, it won't matter at all. He's incredible. Eric put some stats in the Discord last night, and then Neil shared it on Facebook today. He's got the he's got 4 top passer rating out of the top 8 the whole season. It's him, Lamar Jackson. Hang on, I'll pull it up. I've lost it now. There you go. Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Tua, CJ Stroud, and that's it. And then the other 4 is Brock, and he's got the number 1, the number 5, the number 6, and the number 8 passer rating. That doesn't happen just by itself.
All system.
Yes, he is part of a system. Every QB is part of a system. Mahomes wouldn't be Mahomes if he was with the Jets or with the Browns or with a rubbish team. It all ties together. We have the quarterback that we need, and he just delivers on what we ask him to do, and he does it extremely well. And to go back to what Paul was talking about earlier, I wasn't worried. The 2 first downs were bad plays. We tried something, didn't work. We found ourselves in 2nd and 15 and 2nd and 12. It's difficult to convert in the NFL on 2nd and 15, especially in that stadium, especially with the noise. They were really up for it for some reason that I still don't quite fathom. They just were a week early. They didn't realize the Cowboys is next week, and that's the game they actually really need to win. But it sounded like their Super Bowl for a minute. Until we took care of business. But I wasn't
playing
worried.
The best team in the NFL, Nadji, and everyone always raises the game when the best comes into town.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's the whole NFC Championship, isn't it? And I think they tried to prove that they won that game because they were the better team, I think. And I think I said it on Discord, going back to the Brock MVP, it just shows that game last year, if we have him, we win that game.
Totally.
I do not doubt. And I know it 100%. We destroy them again, and we go to the Super Bowl. But that's the only downside about that game. Last night made that January loss even worse, actually. But Brock is just good. It's just so good. There's nothing. Since we saw in that preseason, we knew he was good, and he's just so very good.
So there's a 3-way tie now for favourite for MVP.
Oh, is there? Okay.
So Brock Purdy, Jalen Hurts, and you'll never guess who the third one is.
Is it CMC? It should be CMC.
CJ Stroud?
Dak Prescott.
Okay.
Exactly.
I mean, Dak's playing well.
I just want to say, Gareth, we've got 13 minutes in, and none of yous have realised that today is actually Brock Purdy Day. It's a year to the day that Purdy took the field against Miami Dolphins.
Wow.
And I'm glad you 3 gentlemen have finally got on the same page as me and realised how good he is. Because in the last preview show, Nadji, Vegas are tuning in because we 3 fine gentlemen talked about how Purdy was going to destroy the Eagles, how he was going to be efficient, 11.6 yards per attempt. Now, I know they were inflated by the Yak Boys, but you add in how impressive the run game was. And like you said, Lee, the fact that Kyle Shanahan has put so much trust in Purdy, that goes to why I wasn't nervous, Nadji. We didn't run CMC at all in the first quarter. We didn't run the ball. We were trying things like you said. And I said to Lee, Shanahan's trying to give him his confidence back here. It was shook because of the injury last year. He's trying to settle him into the game. And equally, they didn't score any touchdowns. They only put 2 field goals on. So weirdly, I was seeing the Discord chat go off. I was seeing the Facebook chat go off. And I said to Lee, I'm not worried here at all. It's not like we were 14-0 down and the Eagles were doing everything. And then, boy, when it clicked, did it click, which I know we're going to get into. But the non-Niners fans, Gareth, have gone very quiet. The Brock haters have stopped replying to tweets. And I'm wearing my get-up to try and kind of goad them a little bit because we've heard for a year, chaps. So I mentioned it a year to the day that Brock Purdy took the field. We've heard all the noise, Mr. Irrelevant, 7th round pick, he's a system quarterback. We're a year in. Surely they've got to watch the game tape. Good Modern Football, which Kyle Brant's been a big supporter of Brock, even though he says he's a robot. They were very gushing in their praise this morning. And I did see, Nadja, you'd said when people said this was the biggest game of the season, I was on the same page as you. The Seahawks are bigger games, but it's just nice to see us going on prime time and show the
It wasn't prime
fans.
time. It was just a 9 o'clock game. That's what I mean. It wasn't even a prime time game. It was just normal Fox 9 o'clock game. Yeah.
So while we're not a betting podcast, I just think it's fair to say that you can get Christian McCaffrey at 30-1 with Betfair.
It's not bad. It's not bad.
It may as
Not
well
bad.
be 300,000
Bet
to 1.
responsibly.
He's a running back. He's not going to win MVP.
Yeah.
As long as
You're
you
right,
bet
you're right.
responsibly, do whatever you want with your money, people. That's fine. Running back getting an MVP is, I mean, it's going to just.
He would have to score 5 touchdowns in every single game for the rest of the season to
I think if he
even be an
carries on,
afterthought.
I think if he carries on that form that he's on, that transition
I,
does really well.
I
into
agree
CMC.
with you, but it's
He should get it.
It's a QB award.
Yeah, it is.
It really is, and it sucks that it's
It
a QB
really sucks.
award.
At this point, though, I would give MVP to CMC, and I would give Offensive Player of the Year to Brock, because who else is going to get? I mean, Tyreek maybe could get something, but
So
it's
McCaffrey
difficult.
would have to be running 235 yards per game to break the rushing record. So
yeah,
he's not
going
doing
to
this
do
year.
that.
No.
But he's going to have 2,000 all-purpose, surely. He's already at 900 rushing,
yeah.
so.
Oh, he's over 1,000 rushing now.
Oh, he's off. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
so
he's over
you know,
1,000.
yeah, we can get into week 17, 18 when we got the number 1 spot, and we're good. We can get into that discussion if people want to.
So I don't know that I've got anything really to add on the Brock Purdy conversation, other than clearly there's a lot of people now who are quiet because they've been expecting the guy to crash and burn. Everyone liked it at first when he was this underdog story and all the novelty. It's Mr. Irrelevant. He's going to throw a pass. It's a lovely little story. And then everyone expects him to maybe put a game together and then crash and burn. And the fact that he hasn't, I think it's really annoyed a lot of people.
Yeah.
And now they're doubling down on, no, it can't be him. I can't be wrong. And I think they're going to disappear for a while. And then next season or in the they'll be going, no, I always thought there was something special about
No,
him.
I don't think so. There's always been Brady haters. People don't like Tom Brady for some reason. I mean, the cheating.
I don't know if that was a denial of his ability. The people weren't saying he was bad. People weren't liking Tom Brady, but they weren't saying, oh, he's a rubbish quarterback.
Yeah. Yeah, the narrative should
they were
change
saying, I
around
don't
Brock.
like the guy.
Yeah, true. That's true.
Which is
That's
fair
very
enough.
true. That is fair.
And of course, if you're fans of rivals, you hate success, don't you?
Yeah,
Let's face it.
yeah, absolutely.
So that's always going to come with that. Anyway, you mentioned the keep calm.
Where's your one?
Please, sir, can I take us down a rabbit hole for a second?
Let's go for it.
Do I get a choice?
It's the Eagles review.
I'll go on
forever.
mute and sit back.
No, because
off you go.
This should have really been a talking point of mine because of the tweet that I sent out, and I didn't make
Now
it.
he's doing his homework.
Yeah. But I didn't make it a talking point, and thank you, Naji, for sending me that video. It was very
good, isn't it?
educational. It was very
Yeah,
educational.
very.
So last night we were absolutely going crazy that Lane Johnson was not being flagged for a false start, and that's because
crazy.
he wasn't making a false start.
No, he wasn't.
So apparently your back foot, you can move it wherever you want to move it.
That's it.
You can even jump backwards as long as your front foot is on the floor. You can launch backwards, and as long as your back foot isn't on
Doesn't
the
touch the
floor
ground, yeah.
before the ball comes up, you are
Not false
not
start.
false starting.
Yeah.
So if you
Yeah.
time that right, you can get the jump, and that's what he was doing most
Yeah.
of the game. So it was a legal play that he was making.
It's a very grey area that the refs
Very
just
grey.
kind of. And as I said it on this call, that because I got outraged and I remembered that I've watched a video and I rewatched it because I wasn't quite clear on it. And it's a grey area in the rule where because he's in a 2-point stance, he's allowed
That's
to move
right.
his back foot. If he was in a 3-point stance, he wouldn't be allowed to.
Yeah, you can reset.
But he's allowed to move, to reposition his back foot as long as his belt and his front doesn't move. He can do whatever he wants with his foot. It's the same rule that allows quarterbacks to lift their knees to motion people, essentially. But yeah, if he doesn't move at all, it's just a back foot, and if he puts his back foot down, he has to set for a second before the snap. So if his foot's in the air and the ball gets snapped, it's not a false start. Jawan Taylor, Lane Johnson have been abusing that rule for about a year and 2 years now, I think. I would imagine the NFL is going to change the rule.
They've been playing exactly to the rules, and they found the loophole, and they're exploiting it. And it's up for other teams for their O-line coaches to do the same. I've got no problem with it because it clearly explained that it is that slight bit of you can't move, but actually in certain situations and certain parts of your body in certain stances you can move before the ball is snapped, and it's a little known part of the rules. But if it's there, fair play to their coaches and those players for exploiting them. I got no problem with it myself.
So we put this podcast together, and we're supposed to be talking about the 49ers and the offensive masterclass. He was like a giddy child in Newcastle last night. He was like, Paul, look at the tweet, look at the tweet. Now, I wasn't on my phone, everybody. I was watching the game. I was absorbing the atmosphere. But it's good to mention, Lee, because I have seen a few things on social media today, and we were outraged last night. We were kind of thinking, how was he getting away with it? But it kind of made the victory a bit sweeter because there was a lot of talk. And you saw that about people saying the Eagles had the referees in the pocket and all the rest of it. But like you said, you might have to put the link for that video in the group, Najee.
I think so.
For other people to go and watch it or point them in the right direction.
I will do. Well, it's Brett Coleman for the people who are listening. If you go YouTube, Brett Coleman, I think it's Kollaman. That's his channel, and it's a video specifically about Jawan Taylor, the chief right tackle. So if you scroll down a bit, it's about maybe 3 months old, something like that. Can't remember. I'll put a link in Discord and everywhere on Facebook because it is interesting and educational about the game.
It was, because that was the season opener, wasn't it? It was the Chiefs Lions game that was on that video.
That's it.
Saying everybody was raging at the TV. Why isn't there a flag being thrown over and over again? Well, he explains it. So
he did it, and he did. I think Lane Johnson did it in the Super Bowl last year. So it's not new at all. They've been doing it for a while.
There we are. So out of your talking points, we've covered Brock. We covered keeping calm.
Kind of.
Do you want to say more on that? I'm with you, Paul. I was actually quite calm, mostly because I thought, look at how lopsided the game has been so far, and they're not even a touchdown ahead. It's still a 1-score game. So if we were 14 down, perhaps after those first couple of possessions and hadn't moved the ball, maybe it would have been a little bit more bum squeaky. But I was with you. I thought as soon as we get going, we'll get something going. And the Eagles have managed to convert couple of long third downs that we probably shouldn't have let them convert, and they've ended up with 2 field goals. So I wasn't that bothered myself, but was very, very glad we started to get the ball going when we did.
Yeah. Paul made a very good point last night. So I think I was quite calm during those first 2 drives, and Paul turned around and said, I wonder if this is Shanahan doing that thing where he's just testing the defense for later on in the game, because those first 2 drives were significantly different to how we normally play. Yeah. And I wonder if that's what he was doing, just testing them. And then he could come back to using the information he gained from that later on in the game after he's gone back to doing what we normally do, which is use both McCaffrey and Debo in the run game to basically set up the pass, which is kind of what we did last night. And it just makes sense because it just look so strange, those first 2 drives. It didn't look like us at all. But it makes sense that that's maybe what he was trying to do. Because you know how the script the first 15 plays. What's to say that he'd scripted the first 6 plays just as a learning exercise? Right, how am I going to beat these? Let's run these 6 plays, see what happens. And then from a particular point, let's start the 15 scripted plays that we've actually practiced all week long. And in fact, I think in Shanahan, it's not 15 anymore. I think it's 25, 30 plays he scripts. And I think that's probably what's happened, because I can't get my head around how different we looked those first 2 drives.
Well, I think Paul had a good point about the whole Brock. You know, it must have been quite challenging to go back to that stadium where, and you said it yourself, Lee. He was this close to be, for his career to be over, at Tommy John and whatever surgery and all that. We all well there. We all remember learning about the surgery, the injury, and what it meant to Brock, and then him back in here and Theo Riddick being on one side and rushing at him. Maybe those 6 first play was just, here you go, you're back in the game. I'm going to take a couple of plays away from you. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to worry. You're just settling into what we need to do later. And now the game's going and we're still in it. Let's just go and play football. But also, the 2 first down was just good defense. They called the right play against our offense, and we behind the chains. There's not much you can do. The NFL is hard when it's 2nd and 15. It's very difficult to convert a first down. So I don't know. I don't look too much into it. We could have scored on our first drive if something goes right. It's just
You're not taking that
football.
away from me, Najee Corral. Lee Gowland said I raised a good point.
No, it's a good point. It is a good point. I'm not quite sure it's that much to read into it. I think it was just...
Najee's just mentioned something, and it's going to sound really daft, but this is going to kill me. I'm now wondering whether or not there's some guy in the crowd called Tommy John, and I wonder how he felt while he was watching the game.
Probably. It's quite common, I would imagine. Quite common name, especially if
give Kyle Shanahan his credit, he would have hit Jimmy in a game like that. And he would have gone to CMC, he would have gone to the run game. And that's what I was alluding to at the start. We talked about Brock and the MVP. I wasn't nervous. Neil Graham's joked on today, were you on drugs not to be nervous? I was like, Neil, teetotal. He says, I wasn't even drinking. We were quite a calm atmosphere in Newcastle. My Lions friend was very excitable because they'd won a close game. He'd had a few drinks. And he was like, you're winning this game. And that was a neutral. And like you said, the fact that they didn't punch it in, and I suppose another talking point was segueing, the secondary, as much as we talk about our D-line, the secondary was lights out last night. And the fact that we silenced the crowd, and Gareth, I called for a 24-point win margin on the preview show. I had to settle for 23. I mean, I said in the group chat, I'm coming for moral victories because Gowland was giddy when all our scores went out the window. I'm not going to lie. He knew what the connotations were. But even that, I was joking aside. I said 31-7 because I didn't think their offense was going to fire on all cylinders. And I knew their defense wasn't great, but I didn't foresee the Debo show. And you remember, Najee, the first run we tried with Debo got negative yardage.
Yeah.
Me and Lee said the defense aren't biting on that. Little shows what we know because 3 touchdowns later from Debo Samuel. And if that's what Kyle meant, it was a masterclass because he definitely suckered them in and then hit them with the sucker punch, which was great to see.
Well, I think part of that ties into my talking point really, which is about the coaching. And I think that we've seen this before with Shanahan. He installs his offense bit by bit, and you want to keep some of your best plays. You want to keep some of your looks for later in the season when you need them. And I think I don't know that it was planned, and I don't know that there was really any real idea of protecting Brock, because Brock just seems just unfazed by things. He's like, it's a stadium, it's a game, I got injured, whatever. He doesn't seem bothered by it. And I mean, part of that is because he's probably been through that with high school, 4 years of college. You just work out, it's just a game, it's just a stadium, it's just a thing that happens. It's not, there's nothing bigger into it than that. So I don't think it was planned, but I think Shanahan suddenly realised, okay, I'm going to have to bring out the big boy playbook. I'm actually going to have to get real here. And just the way the switch flipped on both offense and defense of just like, okay, it's going to be that sort of game. Sorry, we're going to have to go into third gear to beat you. We thought we might just be able to stick in second gear, but no, we're no messing about. Let's get this game won. And the 6 consecutive TD scoring drives, that's only happened a few times, I think, in the last few decades of offensive dominated football in the NFL. And I think both Wilks and Shanahan just deserve a huge amount of credit for that, and for, as I said, giving coaching lessons to little Nick Sirianni, who I haven't really paid that much attention to, but he's not that likeable, is he?
No.
He's
a
little bit of... Anyway, enough of that.
No, but when you say planned, all I was meaning was, I like your approach. I think Shanahan was, it's a normal game, and I'm not going to protect you, and I'm just going to put you out there, and I'm going to get rid of those nerves early on, and then, like you said, bring out the playbook. But Sirianni did himself no favours. I noticed he said sorry to Kyle Shanahan at the end. He did. I wondered what that was for.
Fair play.
Yeah, it's about the Dre incident, because credit to Sirianni. He agrees that that guy should have never got involved. Whatever his name was, and
Big Dom.
Big Dom.
whatever. And
And I
it's
think
very
the
hard for me to
NFL
like.
might make an example of him, and I think
Yeah,
perhaps
I
that
think so.
Sirianni knows that, and he goes, "Oh, I better get the apology in early and
Yeah.
show a bit of contrition, and maybe the NFL will be a bit more lenient."
Yeah,
But
I
yeah,
have a very natural untrustworthiness towards Italian people since 2006. It's a soccer reference, people. I don't mind Italian people at all.
Zinedine Zidane.
Zinedine Zidane. So when I saw that flag on the side of his cap, I was just like, "Oh, I don't like you." Straight away.
shocking.
With the Eagles badge on his jersey that you shouldn't have liked, Nadji, not the
That
flag
didn't
on his
matter to
cap.
me. The Italian flag on top of it just made it even worse. Yeah, no, I mean we can talk about that incident if you want to. It's a good segue. Kudos to Sirianni to say that it should have never happened and that guy should have never got involved. But also, come on, Dre, don't give him fire. You know,
Yeah.
don't give him the matches that lights a fire under them. We had them in our pause, and at that point they scored a touchdown on our drive. It could have gone really wrong. Luckily, Debo just said nope. But yeah, come on, Dre. I mean, we know, right? It's Dre. It's part of the package.
We were in control, and we handed a little bit of the momentum back to them with,
we
I
did.
think, back-to-back plays with 15-yard roughing or unsportsmanlike penalties. Because I think there was one on the kickoff, so they started off at about midfield,
That's
completed that pass, got another 15 yards, and suddenly I think, hang on, we kicked off to them, and 3 plays later they're on our 20-yard line. I mean, it was a good thing that it obviously didn't come back and bite us, but
It's a good lesson in momentum. If people want to, when I talk about how momentum can shift a game and how can it swip, I think that moment was really drastic, and you could really see the contrast in between the two teams. And the stadium just erupted, even though they were down 16 points. The game was essentially over at that point, pretty much. And all of a sudden, they just had life for some reason, even though they hadn't done anything, and our defense was still very good, and our offense was just resting on the sideline. So there was no reason. That's what momentum is. It's not really tangible. And all of a sudden,
one big play can just pick everybody up.
Yeah,
it really
one
can.
thing.
On offense, defense, special teams.
That's right. And it could have been the 3rd and 19. That Devonta Smith somehow miraculously converted, and it's that kind of thing. Just you don't want to see it happening. That's the kind of thing that loses you games, especially in the playoffs. That's the kind of thing we need to clamp down. It's just come on, Dre. Just come on, man.
He's always had that edge. I think beginning of last
definitely.
season, again, he was pretty much guaranteed to give up 15-yard penalties several times. He seemed to have got a cap on it. Maybe this is just a bit of leftovers from last year and a point to prove. And that feeling of the game being won, I'll have a cheap shot.
Yeah,
which I don't like to see from any player, but I'll cope with it in this instance.
No, I didn't even think it was really flag worthy. I'm going to be honest. He slammed him down on the floor, but it kind of completes the cut. Well, it kind of completes the tackle, rolls over, and just slams him. You got to think Dre is what 240. Devonta Smith is what 170. It's not hard to throw him on the floor when you're that big and that strong. I think the flag was a bit soft, and the reaction definitely was a bit stupid. But
it was on their sideline, though, wasn't it?
It was on their sideline, yeah.
And
I think that the whistle had blown, which was the key thing, I think.
Yeah. We'll sweep down under the rug.
Doesn't need to do it, like you said, Nadji. No. Let you like I've seen a lot of Niners fans, Gareth, say, let the scoreboard do the talking. Like you said, all Dre needs to do is just get up and flex. But he plays with that kind of his hair's on fire mentality, doesn't he? He's got that chip on his shoulder. He was obviously playing well. I think he'd had 7 tackles prior to that point. And I did say, oh God, Greenlaw's gone out now. And I know Burks has been well on special teams, but you did suddenly wonder. I know we've got Warner, but you take Greenlaw out with it. But luckily, it didn't cost us. Like you said, maybe the Eagles might lose Big Dom off the sideline for the foreseeable. But it's definitely a strange talking point, because why you'd need a head of security on your own sideline? Just an extra body on the touchline seemed a bit daft. But
have you not met Eagles fans?
Yeah, that kind of tells.
Yeah, so apparently he was only there for Sirianni.
Oh, really?
That's who he was security for.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that says it all about that fan people. Also, I want to say they're not all like that. I've got a few friends that are Eagles fans, and they're very nice. but the majority, I think, are pretty bad.
Yeah, I think UK-based Eagles
alright.
fans are okay.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah,
Philly-based Eagle fans, no.
yeah, not so much.
There's a couple of people having a bit of a meltdown on various Facebook groups this morning. I think the NFL groups, Eagles fans,
Very good.
not happy.
Good to see.
Yeah, non-Niners fans are not very happy that we're number one in the power rankings, and the fact that it was another game, Gareth. This is where we were going to get found out. This is where Brock Purdy, the Brock Express, the Brocket ship, whichever one you want to choose to, was going to come crashing to an end. And on a slightly separate note, Gareth, I'm disappointed Nadji's not rocking that jacket. He should have that jacket on, loud and proud, Nadji.
There's
I
heating
told
in
you,
my house. Yeah, I've
yeah.
got this kind of like Christmas jumper. I've got a woolly jumper. There's a
Yeah,
heater
he's
right
wearing
there.
like half a dozen sheep on his back there.
I
He'd
prefer
be
shirt.
far too
Don't,
hot.
I went to Nesbro Christmas market. I was rocking it, so don't worry. I've been repping.
Well, I hope you went to see Mother Shipton while you were there.
No, well,
Mother Shipton
no,
at Nesborough?
There's
No.
another rabbit hole here, isn't there?
yeah. What is that?
No, it's a Mother Shipton's cave at Nesborough. You go down, you make a wish in the well.
I heard about it, but we went for the Christmas market with our daughter for a few hours, so didn't have time for that. It was really foggy as well. Couldn't see anything. So
We've
It's
talked
very
Brook,
pretty.
we've talked coaching. Have we really covered the defense? And I don't know that we've really covered the array of offensive weapons that we've got.
I don't think we've really covered the game, if I'm honest.
No, we haven't covered. In
Not
fact,
really.
36 minutes in, we've covered nothing other than
Well, it's-
rumour and conjecture. Let's try and do this fairly quickly. Then let's start with the secondary because you mentioned it, Paul.
Yeah, go on, Nadji.
Great game.
Give us some talk on the secondary.
Well, what can we say? Mooney Ward is just like it's trying to catch up with the Brocket ship. Those two, I can remember one very big play on AJ Brown. Pass defended, amazing. Yeah, no, he's been absolutely flawless recently. And Ambry Thomas, same, maybe even better. Sometimes it looks like it was Demo that was this close to getting a pick as well. Yeah, no, that secondary has been absolutely amazing. That's what I sent a message to my friend this morning because we've been talking about the game, and he said that his linebackers and safeties weren't very good, which I obviously agree with. But what surprised me the most is there was a few plays, and I think Lee, you want to talk about that. There was a few plays. Hurts out all day. He was protected for absolutely ever. And they couldn't find anyone downfield apart from comeback routes, which are obviously impossible to defend. The little touchdown to Devonta Smith is a bit same. Game was over. But yeah, that's what struck me really, really hard is Brown and Smith really didn't do anything deep or gaining thing. He was always coming back, scrambling kind of thing. Yeah, no, very impressive.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the Eagles O-line and you've got to be envious of that O-line. And I'm absolutely gobsmacked that we created 49 pressures
49.
on Jalen Hurts last night because their O-line looked unbelievable. It looked absolutely solid. And there was times when I thought there's absolutely no way we're getting through there at Jalen Hurts. But obviously we must have done our job if Kinlaw got 2 sacks. But just looking at them, that is such a good O-line. And it just goes to show how good our D-line is to get 49 pressures against an O-line as good as that. And I just thought, I needed to say that because that was the main part of the Eagles team that I was very, very impressed with, their O-line. And it was the biggest thing that I was concerned about as well, because I said it in the preview show, it's an elite O-line and they played like it. Unfortunately, we were just over the top on defense.
The thing is, though, we talk on the show about the eye test, and I'm glad you sprinkled in Thomas, Nadji, because it was like we rehearsed this, Gareth. You mentioned Mooney Ward, and I thought, I want to talk about Thomas. You look at the numbers, Hurts threw for nearly 300 yards. Brown and Smith combined for 200 yards, and at first glance you think, bloody hell, your secondary's being torched. But as you said, Nadji, comeback routes. Again, I turned to Lee last night. There was one where I think it was Smith did he put the brakes on and come back. Thomas was in proximity, wasn't get beat over the top. And Steve Wilkes has said it. We want to win the turnover battle. We want to eliminate the big players. And we stuffed them in the red zone. So we've took the elements of the defense from last year. We sprinkled in what Wilkes is doing. And I mean, Ambry Thomas, I don't think any of us at the start of the season thought would be sat here, Nadji, saying he's gone up against two of the better receivers in the NFL. and snuff them out. And like you said, Mooney Ward has shown why we're paying the big money. And even towards the end in garbage time when we laid that smackdown on Swift and that energy and that defense. And Alex Simpson asked a question, which I'm going to segue now. He asked on Twitter, who are we most impressed with? Carl Shanahan's game plan or Steve Wilkes' game plan? Because you look at the performance last night, offense and defense both played their part. And I thought it was a good question, one I haven't prepared for. So I thought I'd throw it to you, three fine gentlemen. So go on, Gareth. You go first. Who are you most impressed with, Shanahan or Wilkes from last night's game plan?
It's tough. If I'd have to pick one, it would probably be Shanahan. I think the consistency in moving the ball against what is a good defense, the way we got all of the different players involved, the way we were successful in the run, we were successful in the pass, and we pulled out those big plays when we needed it. We controlled the clock, and that's one best thing. Keep Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown on the sidelines, and I think we pulled that out. But it sounds so harsh to not pick Wilkes, but you forced me to pick one.
I'm going to
pick
pick Wilkes.
Now you can pick the other.
Yeah, no, I'm going to pick Wilkes. Two things. I think there was a start at the beginning of the broadcast. They said 12 red zone trips the Eagles had in the last however many games, and they scored on every single red zone play. And we obviously, the first two drives, we stopped them 6 points. And I think we said it already earlier, that was key. If we're 14 down, it's a very, very different game, I think. And the ability to just not allow the big play and not allow them to come back. We made them work their way to the touchdown, even though we were still 3 scores ahead. But still delivering big hit when there's 2 minutes left. I'm going to give it to Wilkes because the game could have been a lot closer, and it would have meant our offense would have had to play the way they did, which is never a guarantee. But basically, even if our offense didn't play as well as we did, we would have won that game, I think. We obviously wouldn't have scored 42 points, but we would have won something like 25-19 or something like that. So I'm going to give it to Wilkes, especially because the beginning of season, all the question marks were on him, and he responded more than anything than we could have hoped for. He came down on the stadium, which apparently he prefers, so I've heard. So what was he not doing there in the first place is a little weird. And, the acquisition of Chase Young, even though he doesn't actually play all that much, has kind of transformed the way we do things. I'm going to give it to him. Dre Greenlow exited early third, and we didn't skip a bit. We've got a rookie playing a safety, and we don't skip a bit. So, yeah, I'm going to give it to Wilkes because he does deserve it.
I'm glad you mentioned him coming down from the booth. And another thing as well, Gareth, we talk about the eye test, and while we're talking secondary and Wilkes, the thing I've learned is not to panic. Like, you see those screenplays, Nadji, and you think, oh, God, he's gone for 10, 15 yards. But in the grand scheme of things, where have they got to when we slam that door shut? And like you said, a comeback route is hard to defend because if Thomas is touch tight on him and then Hurts launches a deep ball and Thomas gets burned in coverage, we come on this show and we're like, oh, why was he so close? And we don't want to give up the big play. But I just thought it was an interesting question. And this is where Lee's going to come in, answer it concisely and not go down a rabbit hole. So Wilkes or Shanahan, Lee?
Shanahan. Yeah, I agree with Gareth. I thought that we called the game on offense was brilliant.
Yeah, I
thought it was methodical, and if I can believe what Paul suggested, and I think I do believe what Paul suggested, because it did ring a bell as soon as he said that, because he reminded us again of the score takes care of itself, and not just that, but also take your eye off the ball by Gilbrand. He mentioned something very similar about running players that you don't necessarily want to you don't necessarily need to work. It's a discovery play, so you can use it later on in the game. And as soon as Paul mentioned it, that reminded us of those 2 books. And I thought, yeah, that could be right, because this looks nothing like our offense. And it's really strange what he's doing here, and I don't understand what he's doing here. It's just so far removed from how we normally play. And so I looked at that as the first 2 drives as being that discovery exercise. And then everything else from then on was just pure magic. Absolute pure magic. I couldn't have even dreamed it was going to go that well.
Do you think
for me, it was Shanahan.
So I'm going to go Shanahan, Gareth, and I won't go into it. Just Shanahan. 3 for 1, Alec. I'm going Shanahan. Purely, like you said, the touch and the scoring drives, the fact that Purdy had 11.6 yards per attempt, the run game was 5.2 yards per attempt, and the fact that we sprinkled it around and Deebo Samuel looked, everything is what he did, is a testament to Kyle Shanahan. So, Alec, the answer to your question is 3-1 on the panel, but we'd love to hear your thoughts because he didn't answer his own question. And anybody else wants to answer, do leave a comment in the group. Because I did think it was a good talking point, chaps. That's why I made a note to ask it.
It was. Because it did make me think whether there's the psychological element of it, that you think, okay, let's just set up these plays. We'll take the sting out of their defense, which is going to be fired up at the beginning of the match. The home crowd is going to be all over this. It's not that we're not trying, it's that let's try and learn something. Let's try and learn how this defense is going to go, and we'll put that to good use later. But I also wonder if there's a psychological impact on the defense, that the defense becomes so confident in what they've done with 2, 3 and outs that they just stick to it. That they just think, right, our game plan is right. That's the way we've set ourselves up the right way. And perhaps they get a bit rigid in their thinking. And whether this is all the sort of mind games happening at a meta level on the sidelines that most of us aren't privy to, or maybe I'm reading too much into it. Anyway, it worked. Okay, we've talked coaches. We've talked a bit about Deebo, Kittle, Ayuk, Third and Juwan. Do we want to talk? Go on, pick one. Someone pick one and talk.
Well, I'll leave Debo for Paul. I'll leave because he's excited to talk about that. Let's talk quickly Jawan, because we don't talk. I mean, we talk about him every so often. But I hope he signs with us again. I love that guy. He just, I can't remember his stats, but he's got something like 30 targets this year and 17 catches, which is, for the amount of work he does, is really not a lot in terms of the reward. First touchdown of the season, what a touchdown. Get off me, block. Just stiff arm a bit, Derrick Henry style. Send somebody to the sidelines. Just go and sit down. I need to go and score my touchdown now. A crucial moment. I think that might have been the point where the Eagles fan were, I've had enough now. I'm probably going to leave and go home. Yeah, I love Jawan. And he's had, two or three third down conversion this game. He's reliable. His blocking is incredible. Excellent. He's a team player. Doesn't moan. He's friends with all of them. I watched a bit of the Instagram live at the end of the game that Brandon Ayuk had in the dressing room, and they're all dancing and they're all chanting and they're all doing the stuff. He's just part of the team, and it's good. You need guys like this to win championship. Guys that don't get talked about enough, and that might just score you 2 touchdowns in the Super Bowl to win it, clinch it, because nobody covers him exactly the same way. So thank you, Jarwan. Long may you be with us, please. That would be good.
I hope that we've been keeping him fresh for the end of the season, keeping him a bit hidden, because he has had less of a role, I think, than last season.
True.
We saw it last week with his big fight for the first down.
Yeah.
And I think he's, again, Shanahan likes to spread the love. It's like, you've earned your targets, you've earned your chance to go and get yourself a TD. Go get it, lad. And he's done so.
Mm-hmm.
McCaffrey? Who wants to take McCaffrey?
Go on, Lee. He's busy doing something else.
I'm busy checking Twitter, see what else is going on. It's still exploding on Twitter, man.
Look how happy he is.
It's this endorphin rush of likes, isn't it? It's an addiction.
So I feel exactly the same way as the team, exactly the same way as the coach. We've been waiting for this since January to validate the fact that we only lost that because Purdy wasn't playing, like Najee said earlier on in the podcast. So for me to do it in such style was great. Christian McCaffrey, like we've just been saying, I mean, he's definitely up there for MVP, but as Gareth said, it's going to go to a quarterback, isn't it? It's got to go to a quarterback. It always goes to a quarterback. And I think because of the way Brock's playing, for a running back to get it has to be something special. Again, Gareth said it. He has to be scoring 5 touchdowns a game, something ridiculous like that to get it. But every game he plays, you just have the confidence that he's going to do what needs to be done. And he's like a little block of... He's like Rocky. He's like a little block of iron. Can you remember Rocky 4? Drago having a go at him. And he says, he's like a little block of iron. That's what Christian McCaffrey is like. You see the photos that his missus posts on Instagram after the games where he's all beat up, skin ripped all over the place, and he just doesn't kind of budge during the game. He just keeps on going, pounding at them. And you see a back like Christian McCaffrey, and he's not particularly big back. I mean, he's a good build, he's muscular frame on him, but he's not a particularly big back, and you don't tend to expect that type of player from somebody his size.
No.
But he didn't seem. So the injury prone stuff, I mean, some of the punishment he's taken this season, that kid's not injury prone. He's getting a beating all season long. And again, you can see it. And he just keeps on coming back, give us the ball, give us the ball, give us the ball. And
he's got
it's just
touchdown.
It's a beautiful thing.
Touchdown game
it's
streak.
a beautiful thing.
What is it? 3? 4? 3?
I mean, the thing is,
15 to go to beat it.
CMC now, and you're saying only 17 carries, 93 yards, 3 passes for 46 yards, 1 touchdown. And we say it as it's just so normal. But Baldy's dropped his breakdowns, and I can't remember which touchdown it is, but because Dezan's blacked out, so you can't go back and watch the game yet. There's an all 22 level that Baldy showed, and CMC's blocking for one of the touchdown passes. And you just going back to your point with Jennings. Jennings is blocking and he's not getting many of the targets, but this culture this team has got, and we're going to segue into Debo. I mean, Debo's touchdowns, I can't decide which one's my favourite, and I hope we're going to have a couple of minutes to talk about them. I mean, the first one, I love a trick play on this one, the end around play, the 48 yards, and the way that George Kittle is out in front and doesn't just block one defender, he blocks 2 defenders on the line, and Debo just strolls in. And I'm not going to lie, Gareth, there was a tweet, I think it's before the Dolphins game, of Debo warming up, doing the little griddy, and when Debo was rumoured to leave us, a lot of the haters tagged me in that tweet, and I saved that gif because I knew he wasn't going anywhere. And for the last 24 hours, that has been what I've been sharing on Twitter, because that symbolises Deebo Samuel. He talked the trash talk for what seems like a full year with the Eagles. He's backed it up. And like you said, it was bold for me to call 2 touchdowns because he hasn't had multiple scored and touchdowns since 2021. He got 3. And I mean, you look at the stats. I've just pulled up now what Lee's doing there. His best game of 2023, 116 yards, 4 receptions. His first multi-score game since week 12 of 2021. And I've seen all 3 touchdowns again today, and they're just all amazing. I mean, even the third one, a quick tunnel screen.
Untouched.
And he just hits the gap. Like you said, Nagy, all 3 touchdowns untouched. And the second one, I know Lee loves
better,
stat.
I think, actually.
Next gen stats, apparently, Debo had a 0.1% chance of scoring when he caught that ball. And he shrugged the defender off. It's like that, what is it, Jim Carrey gift? You're telling me there's a chance? You're telling me there's a chance? And he's 3 touchdowns, and the fact that he just silenced the Eagles crowd. So I think we have to give Debo the love. Connor Ryan wouldn't have forgiven me, Gareth, if I didn't show number 19 the love. And you all know my love for 23. But yeah, Deebo Samuel got my game ball last night.
Discord MVP Deebo Samuel. Just mention it. Pretty unanimous, I think, even though Brock got 1 vote, I think. Thank you, Eric.
well deserved, I think.
Yes.
There was the Bulls. Ayuk caught 3 or 4, I think. Got a TD.
Oh, that touchdown was insane.
3.
Yeah.
It was.
Because I was wearing 11.
We'll mention one of my boldies was that no one would have a big game because everybody would feed. And I got that partly right. I underestimated Debo. But I think I read something that Ayuk, Debo, Kittle, and Jennings, I think, and CMC all had something like 3 catches and 40 yards or more. Something like that. So it shows how well balanced the offense is. We were talking about it, I think, just caught you before we started recording. And a shout out perhaps to Charlie Warner again for the dirty blocking that he's doing. And I think he's had 1 target, hasn't he, and 1 catch so far this season. Now, I'd love to see a game where we can get him an opportunity to score perhaps late in the game, because again, people are saying, well, why do we have these guys? And I think Shanahan knows the value and how many snaps he's playing, because like Juszczyk, they're there making all the other parts around them work. And I think the other players know this. And I think there was a good picture of Warner and Purdy celebrating, because I think, again, they know that you get that block in, 20 yards of that run, you earned those 20 yards, not the guy who's actually running them. So the offense is beginning to cook quite nicely, and a good shout out for the offensive line. Struggled in
Yeah.
those first couple of series. I
Well,
do think that was part of it, but very soon became really quite stable, and we know how good Brock is at facing down the pressure. So.
yeah.
So you called for not a big game. I
Not a
called for
big game.
Debo to have a big game. So I'm taking that one.
Well,
Alex
not an
Simpson
over
keeps
big
the
game.
check
I
on
thought
them,
everybody
but,
would be equally good. There
Which
wouldn't
is
be a
very
standout
close,
player.
apart from Debo. Yeah.
It's similar. It's 55 minutes in, and we got really much time to talk about defense. We've barely talked about it, other than Trey.
Well, before we go on to defense, let's just quickly have a listen to this stat that's just popped up on Twitter. That the 49ers have a plus 102 point differential this season against teams who are in a playoff spot entering week 14. The Ravens have the second best, plus 45.
No, wow.
Not even half of what we've got.
Wow.
It's like you've discovered Twitter for the first time, Lee, since your tweet went viral last night.
He's addicted
No,
to those
it's got nothing to do with the
endorphins, mate.
viral tweet. It's just that I like to see Eagles fans bitching and moaning about last night.
It's pretty funny.
Yeah,
I mean,
fun.
the Eagles had been outgained in their last 5 games and still managed to win, and that's the only reason I was a bit concerned, because they are designed to win as a team. They are good at winning. They know how to win games, but when you lose by 30 or so points,
They're this year's Vikings.
well, they've still got 10 games. So, but yeah, if they carry on this path, I don't see them going very far. That's for sure. They've
We
got
said
things
it
to
on the
figure out.
Do you
preview
want another
show,
stat?
Gareth, didn't we?
Go on, give us another stat.
There's only 3 quarterbacks who've ever recorded 3 games with at least 3 passing touchdowns and 140 plus passer rating in the same season in NFL history.
Yes.
Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, and Brock Purdy.
Brock Purdy. Yeah. I saw that.
The other two ended up being MVP.
MVP that season, yeah.
Well, I thought the one you were going to mention there, which Eagles fans were very proud to say, that they were 5-0 this season, chaps, when trailing at halftime. So few people got nervous. And Andy Hodgson, and I'm going to quote him, he's going to kill me for this. He said to me that we needed to score before halftime, because he'd seen a stat, if you score before halftime. He said, don't quote me on the numbers, Paul. So, of course, I'm going to quote him on the numbers. Apparently, 85% of the time you win.
85.
So Andy Hodgson gets a cheeky shout-out because he said that.
It's a good start, that. It's a good start. Yeah. And I do think that was a key moment of the game. The fact that we managed to take the clock right down by Debo staying in bounds. Really clever play. Managed to score, and then we got the ball, first drive, score, game over. Apart from the Trey Greenlaw thing. But yeah, it was pretty decisive. Let's talk defense. Go on. We have talked about it a little bit.
We talked about secondary. I suppose we haven't really. It seems odd because we haven't really mentioned like Nick Bosa.
He was good.
Maybe that's why I just feel like we haven't talked much. They put a shift in. I think those
put a
guys
shift in,
knew
for sure.
they were going to probably put in a tough shift without a lot to show for it.
Yeah.
And they did.
It was one of those Sundays where you could just put the tape back and just zoom in on Nick Bosa and Lane Johnson and watch every snap, and you learn something on every snap. It's one of those matchups that's just all timely, and it's just great to see and watch and see 2 guys go out there at the top peak. It's just insane. And I mean, they're both incredible, and it was good to see. Bosa is amazing though. Yeah. I don't know.
So not our defense, but defense nonetheless. The Eagles have already made a move to plug up the centre of the field. And they've signed Shaq Leonard.
Yeah.
Wow.
Don't know if that's going to help them much. He's a bit... I don't know if he's still good. But it can't be worse, considering Debo is untouched. Can't be worse.
No, I think we managed 3 sacks, Gareth, but I think Lee gave the pressure numbers away. Like you said, Hurts had a bit of time, but because the secondary was so locked in, it's got to be reassuring being a 49ers fan. The fact that we've come here tonight, we've absolutely dominated them on both sides of the ball. The fact that Hurts was in the running for MVP. And I'm glad he came back on the field, because I didn't want the Eagles fans mourning, you beat us because Mariota was there. I mean, Kinlaw's sack, the easiest sack of his career. Hurts fell over in front of him, but you're going to take it, aren't you? But even the stupid push touchdown, we tried to stop that. We did get a stop on it. I think Fred was over the top when they tried it a couple of plays earlier. But for me, I think the defense all round. Sometimes your secondary is going to bail you out. Sometimes your pass rush is, and just because they didn't get home, the fact that we're sat here, we've gone into Philadelphia and we've won by 23 clear points after not even the turn up in the first quarter. So we scored those 42 points in 3 quarters is pretty impressive. So like you said, full credit to Steve Wilkes. He just wasn't quite as good as Shanahan.
Come on. He was.
I agree. Shall we? I think we should move on to our player watch, because that will probably
Just want to
sum
shout
up.
out to Kalia Davis for his first NFL sack ever. He's been with us
Totally.
for quite some time now. He's been injured,
He's
battling.
second season.
Yeah, it's been second season. But
Redshirted.
he was on IR most of the first season, and even at the beginning of this season. It's great to see. Good to see you among the team, Kalia. It's good to see, and congrats on the sack. Yeah, well done.
Yeah, totally agree. Could be another legend there.
Yeah.
Who knows? Who knows?
knows?
Anyway, should we go on to a player watch? Jair Brown.
Up and down.
How'd you
Up and
boy do?
down. Up and down, I think. The first big AJ Brown slant, the big gain on the first drive, he missed a tackle. But he did lead the team in tackle. So that was good. Didn't get burnt in a pass game. He also was a bit responsible for that 3rd and 19. I think him and Gibson got there at the same time on Smith and kind of took each other out, kind of thing. So he was a bit unlucky there. But pretty solid performance. I think when you lead the team in tackle, it means you're doing something right, I guess. But yeah, I like him. I think he's got a different skill set than Huff. And I think those two together, when Gibson decides to retire, if he decides to retire, it's going to be a good combo. I think he needs to learn more, obviously, to, especially on slants. You can't, especially people like AJ Brown, you can't just knock him down. You need to wrap up and just tackle like a rugby tackle almost to get the guy down. But I think it was a good performance. It could have been difficult, but it didn't make it difficult. So good on him. More on that. Quick note: Jordan Mason had a carry and a first down, just to hedge the game, because he is my original guy. I really wanted him to just break air again and just run towards the goal line and slide down, not scoring. That would have been hilarious and kind of funny. But yeah, he's Jordan Mason is still with us. Hopefully he can play next year. Come on, Kyle.
Hopefully, I'm still thinking maybe Shanahan's got him tucked away again for a surprise package.
For a rainy day, yeah.
Yeah, anyway. Should we do a Ronnie Bell? Because it might be quite short.
Just while we're talking about running backs,
Go
did you hear the conversation between Aaron Rodgers and Raheem Mostert?
No.
Oh, yeah.
No. So Aaron Rodgers had gone up to Raheem and they was saying, hello, how are you doing? And Aaron says, look, guy, I still haven't forgiven you for a couple of years back. I mean, he was laughing about it. He said hello and that, but he turned around and he says, I still haven't forgiven you or forgetting it.
Yeah, I think that's one. We all remember that game. We'll never forget that game. What a game.
I think for me, Gareth, Ronnie Bell, the thing that jumps off the page was when he dropped. Then it went out of bounds, thankfully. I mean, I thought we were going to see a lot more of him on the kick returns, punt returns, but then equally, it showed how serious we were taking this game, that Deebo Samuel was fielding them. Maybe, again, bit of nerves from Ronnie Bell. It didn't cost us. Learning curve, the fact that he should have pulled it in. But other than that, I've said before, he's in and around the first team. He's getting a few reps. But on a night like last night, you're not going to see him when the ball's being spread around. But he's there if needed. But yeah, luckily it didn't cost us. But I'm not going to lie, I was like, oh no, Ronnie, no.
It wasn't the situation for an unproven rookie. But if Ray McLeod needs to miss a couple more games, I'm hopeful we might see Ronnie Bell get a reception or two, or a target or two at least.
Yeah.
Colton McKivitz and the O-line in general,
largely
but
he had a decent game against a really stout pass rush.
Yeah.
I think once or twice he got a little bit bullied, but I mean that's only to be expected because
once or twice
the quality
he's fine.
Yeah, exactly, against the quality that he came up against, but he was largely good. He had a little bit of a hit after the run, which I thought was going to draw a flag, but it didn't. So I was quite pleased about that. And if I'm honest, I was quite pleased about the hit as well. I like that. I like the intensity that he was showing and the fact that he just wanted to put it out there that you don't mess with my guy. So yeah, I was largely quite happy with McKivitz last night. It was an enjoyable experience to watch him, especially against that quality.
Good. He has grown into the season.
He has.
I think there's definitely been a consistent improvement throughout the season. So,
and we did call it at the start of the season. We said, look, it was his very first game at right tackle. He's got to get the experience and grow into it. And he wasn't game fit either. You've got to have like 3-4 games before you're at that full game fitness, especially for O-line who don't sub out. So we did call it, and he has. I think he's surprised everyone. In fact, he may even be candidate for most improved player purely because of that first game.
Maybe, yeah. That run right to Debo, he was key on now. Obviously, Kittle has amazing blocking, but it doesn't. Those kind of plays don't work if your right tackle doesn't block well. So there you go.
And I was watching the Broncos game. I was watching the Saints game earlier, and the Broncos run, and McGlinchey was awful. I was just sat there thinking, I'm so glad we didn't pay him. There was one in particular where it was clearly a passing play, and the edge rusher just steamrolled him and rolled Wilson up, and I thought that brought back horrible memories. Seeing 69 on that side.
To be fair to McGlinchey, whatever his name is, I forgot now. The edge rusher the Texans have is going to be
it was just
very good. Very, very good.
Just when you think how much money they've given him.
Oh, yeah, no, that's pretty funny.
I just thought I'd reference that when we talk about McKivitz, Gareth.
there we are. And finally, Diomedor Lenore. Solid game. I'm sure DeAndre Swift might remember a particular moment in the game. And if you don't, I've seen it all over social media and it'll be all over YouTube. That shows a certain intensity, I think, when the game is won and there's 2 and a bit minutes left. And I think Nagy is going to tee us up. Boom. Have that. To be honest, that is a hit that Ronnie Lott would be proud of.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh,
and that is saying something.
So for everyone listening on YouTube, listening and not watching on YouTube, you're not imagining it. Gareth mentioned the play and Najee's playing the clip. So we are all watching it. But if you're walking the dog and think, what on earth are those 4 talking about? We were actually watching the play. It was class. Yeah. It was fantastic, shall one say.
It's just a shame that he hadn't had hold of that ball 1 second longer.
Yeah. It doesn't matter. The game was over at that time, at that point.
Yeah.
It was, but I wanted us to just stomp them a little bit more.
Make a statement.
But credit to him, because that's the kind of hit you can very easily get called for. A sportsman iconic roughing, whatever it's called,
but he did it. He did it really well. He did it from the side. He did it with his shoulder.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's really hard to just have your helmet touch your. This is full speed. It's very hard to do a full speed, where your helmet just bang a little bit or whatever, and then you get called for it. It was pitch perfect. It's just good old fashioned tackle, and it's good to see because we don't see those very often anymore. And
I think. Worth mentioning, we don't like talking about the refs, and I'm sure the Eagles fans will have a different view, but I was very pleased to see the refs let people play, particularly with the cornerback wide receivers, where they just let them and say, okay, if you've got your hands on each other and no one's getting an advantage, there's no problem with that. We'll let you guys play football.
Yeah, I turned around Paul a few times and said, he's a flag coming here. It's got to be a flag. And then no flag. And we're like, wow.
Yeah.
Really expecting a flag there.
Really pleased to just let them play because I'm sure the Eagles fans will moan about it. But I don't. There was a couple there where I was thinking they might get flagged. I think like you, Lee, you're expecting the flag and then you thought, actually...
I think we just got scarred in a pass by... a certain Josh Norman.
Don't mention his name.
Sorry.
What we will mention, and what you do need to tee up, is the score predictions.
I got that. Let's do it.
We were all close, but not close enough. I think in some respects, weren't we?
I think it was all parity. Everybody got 5. Yeah.
Everybody got 5. Yeah.
And none of us were that far off, were we? Really? I can't even remember what I put now.
Lee had 28-24, so the 24 is pretty close. I bet you wish they'd score another touchdown at some point. 28 is pretty far because we scored 42, obviously, but I had 30-27. I really wanted one more touchdown from the Eagles. That would have been perfect. Yeah. They would have gone for 2 as well, and maybe a bang on, but never mind. Paul, 31-7. I think the spirit is with Paul. You had the blowout victory. Yeah. No, just not quite that much.
I had the 34-23.
You're a point away, yeah. So that 2-point conversion really cost you. Yeah.
And Lee celebrated that up at the casino. I'm not going to lie, Gareth. Lee celebrated that. He knew what it meant.
Yeah, that 2-point conversion cost you essentially 2 points.
It was the biggest celebration of the night, if I'm honest.
Obviously.
It was louder than when Lenore intercepted the Seahawks player last year and the casino at Stockton was walking up. He celebrated that one louder than any of the touchdowns. And I was like, who scores that affected? Because I knew mine was out. He was like, that's Gareth out of the equation. Get it.
I can't tell you what the full sentence was that I said, but I had everybody in the casino saying, who's Gareth?
Brilliant.
Thank you.
So the table
is... went free in your head.
The table is unchanged. Paul at the top with 61. I'm second with 57. Lee is third with 51. And Gareth bringing the rear with 48. All to play for. Still.
Close. Chasing Lee, though. He's feeling the pressure.
And it looks like, I know we haven't talked about this, but we're doing the playoffs as well. So I assume that's just us in a playoff, so as far as we go, which is obviously the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But
that's why
we don't stop at the week 18. So just so
we'll have a decision to make. Anyway, any last thoughts on the game? This is turning into quite epic. We've at an hour 10 already, so I think we should draw it to a close.
Yeah,
I mean, enjoyable.
It was. I think it was needed. It was a big game indeed. Just to gain that game back on them, and when they lose next week to Dallas, which I think they will, we will be number 1 seed. And if the Rams lose and we win, we clinch the West. But I'm not sure. But I think it's very close anyway.
It's the week after, I think, because the Rams won this weekend. I think
they have to lose twice, I think.
Yeah.
They have to lose twice, okay. I mean, it would pretty much secure it. If we win next week, the Eagles
so no
lose.
hats and T-shirts against Seattle, but I think the hats and T-shirts will be in Arizona.
The week after, right, okay, yeah. So mathematically, I mean, all we have to do is take care of business next week. But yeah, big game next week. And one more than, beating the Seahawks, beating the Eagles, and beating the Seahawks again back home. We needed that win. I think took that monkey off our back, and we can just enjoy this new season fully now. We resolved last year. We can enjoy this season.
Wonderful. Nothing else, Finer? I'll wrap up then. No, Lees wants to say something. I can see that. On his face.
I'm just getting ready. For the finale.
Okay, there we go. So
I wish I teed up some Rocky music now.
You should have. Thank you, gents. It's been good fun. It always is on a Victory Monday, isn't it? But that one was a little bit sweeter. So thanks, lads, and thanks to everyone who listens and watches the show. Did you enjoy your deep roasted Philadelphia Eagle this Sunday? How did it taste? Let us know in the comments when we post the pod. And there will be more avian delicacies on the way as we welcome the Seahawks to Levi's this Sunday. So look out for the preview pod later in the week. So enjoy the rest of your week, and especially do savour those Eagle fan tears, excuses and general moaning. They owed us that, and we collected big time. Go Niners.
Go Niners.
Go Niners.
Bang, bang, Nana gang.
We love the San Francisco 49ers deep in the heart. Like Joe Montana in the corner, D. Clark. Garrison Hurst, stiff farm going 99. Don't get it twisted, one and all with prime time. John Taylor, Jerry Rice down.